It's Michael Hinchliff with Gene & Associates with our July 2021 market report. July, much like every month that we've done this, was another busy month in Georgetown. Just for some statistics, 10 houses sold. Days to offer was 7. So again, a very quick market. Most houses were selling that first weekend. I think the stats that are pointing out to me are the average house sold for 11% over the asking price. Which is big. Average sales price was $699, so a hair under 700, and there are 10 houses listed today. If we compare those to last year, so days to offer this year was 7, last year was 11, so pretty similar, just a little bit tighter. Last year was 2% over asking price. Like I said, this one was 11% over asking price, so that's that strong buyer demand that we're seeing and talking about everywhere. The average sales price last year was $527,000. What that means is prices are up 32% year over year, which has been actually pretty consistent. So that's kind of a real number at this point. And then last year at this time, there were 4 houses listed. Today there are 10. So I know we keep hearing about an inventory problem. It is easing ever so slightly, but it's still a real problem. So if you go to any houses, to an open house, you're going to see a lot of people there. You're going to see multiple offers. Houses are still selling that first weekend. So I think it's really important to remember that while there is more inventory today than there was a year ago at this point, there's still not nearly enough. And the typical house still sells over the first weekend for 11% over, averaging $700,000 a year. So that is Georgetown. If we look at total sold year to date, this year in Georgetown, 46 have sold. Last year, 57 had sold. So we're actually a little bit behind, which is a trend which is a little bit unique to Georgetown. And then this year, the average sale price is 8% over ask. Last year was just a hair over 100%. So things were essentially going for asking price. But year to date, we are plus 29%. So kind of in line with that 32%. So that is the update for Georgetown. I want to shift to our footprint. So the towns that we kind of focus on: Boxford, Georgetown, Groveland, Newbury, Rowley, Topsfield, and West Newbury, kind of that core. It's a similar story, but we're going to see that Georgetown is outpacing those towns in the whole. So last month, 58 houses sold. Last year, 68 sold. So similar to Georgetown, the actual number of sales is down just a little bit. Days to offer is a big difference. In those towns, days to offer is 10 this year. It was actually 26 last year. So it took almost a month last year at this time to get an offer accepted. This year, it's just 10 days. In those towns, it's selling for 5% on average over asking price. Last year was about 1% over asking. The average sales price this year is $776,000. Last year was $671,000. So that's up about 16%. So you can see that Georgetown at 32% is doubling that, way outpacing those towns. And then listed today is 62 houses. Last year was 47 houses. So we can see the inventory there. We're up 32%. So that's really, we're seeing that there is inventory. Again, the typical house is selling. It's accepting that offer within just 10 days, which by the time you think about it, it's essentially that first weekend. Some are making it to the second weekend, but the vast bulk are that first weekend. If we look at total sold, here's where it's different. Total sold in those 7 towns in 2021 is 301. Last year at this same time, it was 286. So we're 15 houses over. It's about 5% up year over year, which is great. Average selling price compared to the ask is 105%. Last year was 99%. If you can imagine, last year the average house was selling for less than the asking price. That is not something that we've heard at all lately. And then the average selling price is $791. Last year was $646, so it's up about 22%. So again, Georgetown is outpacing the market sort of all around. So an important thing if we're looking at buying a house in today's market, and that's a lot of my business is actually on the buying side, it's really important that you understand the different price bracket that you're in. So if we look at Georgetown, if you're in the 800s, the average house sold for 11% over asking price. And it was actually the same in the 500s, the 700s, and the 800s. If you get into the 900s and then the millions, which there are not a lot of those in Georgetown, they actually were selling at asking price. I left out the 600s. They're actually selling it only about 5% over the asking price. So that's an important thing to look at. In the 500s, it's 11% over. If you break into that 600, it's just 5% over. So really understanding where the prices are and where things are selling in the different price brackets is actually really helpful to understand if you're writing an offer, what you're going to need to do in order to get your offer accepted. The other interesting thing that we're seeing is we're seeing less appraisal language. So 2 or 3 months ago, people were essentially waiving appraisals saying, I don't care what the bank thinks the house is worth, I'm going to buy it and I'll make up the difference. We're seeing less of that, and we're seeing inspections coming back in accepted offers. So some of the sort of really strong seller's market indicators that we saw 2 or 3 months ago, they're getting a little bit softer. I think it's really important to know that it's still definitely a strong seller's market. There's just not enough inventory, but it is not as strong of a seller's market as it was just a couple of months ago. So it's 1 month is not a trend. I'm hopeful that this continues, but we're actually seeing it. And just for context, the last offer that was accepted for my clients was actually under asking price. So there is that opportunity. It's not the norm, but we are seeing the market starting to shift just a little bit. So we'll keep an eye on that. So that's it for this month. We will see you next month with our August 21 market report. Again, it's Michael with Gene & Associates. Talk to you soon.